we actually have all the data that we need for the table and for the textual analysis. Let's first write the table. So this, of course, table number, the title, one-way ANOVA, comparing the mean exam scores by modality. And we have here all the three modalities that we talk about. The mean, 37.74. You can see the mean here, 37.74, 31.57, and then 41.66. And then for the standard deviation, that's for SD, we have 7.23, 6.81, and then 7.14. And of course, the F statistic, we have 2 and 103 for the, where's this? For the degrees of freedom, 2 and 103. So that's 2 and 103 degrees of freedom. Your F statistic is 18.75. The p-value is 0.00. This one, 0.00. Oh, of course, I forgot this. This is partial eta squared. How do you get this? Partial eta squared. This is the overall effect size. It will tell you how many percent of the total variation or the variation in scores, in this case mean scores, is accounted for the independent variable. In this case, types of modality. So in this case, 27%. How do you get this? Well, actually in PSPP, to get partial eta squared, all you have to do is to go to Analyze and then Descriptive Statistics and then go to Cross Tabs. So cross tabs already here. Let's reset everything. Sa rows, well actually, pwede mo ilagay kahit sino muna dyan, no? So, pwede mo muna ilagay kahit sino dyan. But in this case, let's put learning modality sa, sige, rows na lang examination, then learning modality sa columns. And then, go to statistics. In this case, ang default nan, si chi-square, yung naka-check dyan. Pero, i-uncheck nyo yun. Let's go to eta. This one, eta. And then, click continue. And then, click OK. Sa result natin, sa pinakababa, makikita mo doon si partial eta squared. Partial eta lang pala. Pinakalalim. This one, nominal by interval eta. Examination score yung dependent or learning modality yung dependent. But in this case, our dependent variable is examination scores. So, ang titingnan natin is 0.52. This is the value of eta. But we need the square of this. So, let's get your calculator. And then all we have to do is to square this. That's 0.52. And then square this one. 0.52 squared. And the answer is 0.27. So, it's the value 0.27. So, that's the reason why we have 0.27 here. I will show you the textual interpretation later. So we're done with the table for ANOVA. There are several ways on, if you go to the internet, there are several ways on how to create the table for ANOVA. But this one is the simplest version of the ANOVA table, wherein you can see the mean and standard deviation of the groups that you're comparing, the F value, the P value, and the partial eta squared. Let's now write the first few parts of the textual analysis. And the first part of the textual analysis goes this way. One-way ANOVA was carried out to compare the effect of learning modality on the final examination scores of the students. Learning modality, that's your independent variable, and then examination scores is your dependent variable. And then the results revealed a statistically significant effect of modality or type of modality on examination scores. And then we report the F statistic with the degrees of freedom, F to 103, and this is equivalent to 18.75, and the p-value is 0.000, which is actually significant. So that's the reason why we have this phrase over here, statistically significant effect. And then we interpret the partial eta. Partial eta squared, in this case it's 0.27, shows that 27% of the variation in scores, that's your dependent variable, is accounted for the type of learning modality. Medyo monty lang yung 0.27, no? So the remaining 1 minus 0.27, that's around 0.73% of the variation in the scores is accounted for other things. Something like that. Okay. We will actually include also the post-hoc analysis. And in this case, we will be using Bonferron. Ayun yung unang lumabas sa post-hoc analysis natin. If you can still remember this part over here. We compare the groups. Kasi di ba, Again, ANOVA will just tell you there's a significant difference. But the question is, sino yung naiba kanino? So yeah, we will do multiple comparisons. And we will also include the results of this on our textual analysis. So I mentioned here, post-hoc comparisons using Bonferroni indicated that the mean score of students under MDL was significantly different from the mean scores of students under ODL and blended learning. So, saan din nakita yon? Yung ODL tsaka MDL, alam natin they are significantly different from each other. ODL versus blended, hindi. Pero MDL versus MDL versus blended, significant. So, isipin, si MDL is significantly different from ODL and from blended learning. So, that's the reason why we mentioned here that MDL, we put the mean and the standard deviation, was significantly different from the mean scores of the students under ODL. So, we also mentioned the mean scores and the standard deviation, and also versus blended learning and the mean scores and the standard deviation. We also included the Cohen's d, the effect size Cohen's d, which is 0.88. Remember how we computed for this one? Let's get our calculator again. Ang i-compare muna natin will be the effect size sa MDL versus ODL. So remember Cohen's d. Let's get the mean first sa taas. The difference between the means divided by the average of the standard deviation. So in this case, we have 37.74 minus the mean for the MDL, which is 31.57, and then divide it by the standard deviation, the average of the standard deviation. In this case, it's 6.81 plus 7.23 divided by 2. And the answer is in this case, that's 0.88. That's 0.88. 0.88, according to Cohen's, there is a large effect size. 0.88, how many percent yung nag-overlap? Kapag 0.88, pag mga 0.88, nasa mga around 50% yung nag-overlap sa kanila. And for, MDL versus blended learning, sige, let's compute for D. Again, let's subtract 41.66 minus 31.57 divided by the average of the standard deviations. Standard deviation for MDL is 6.81 plus 7.14 divided by 2. The answer is 1.45. 1.45. Mali yung type ko dito. Should be 1.45. So the effect size is very large. Effect size 1.45, roughly siguro mga nasa 30% yung nag-overlap sa distributions nila. Pag, let's say, kung mga circles, yung nag-overlap sa kanila is around mga 30%. Something like that. And, however, the mean scores of the group under ODL, so ODL versus blended, walang significant difference, diba? ODL versus blended was not significantly different from the mean scores of the group under blended approach. The effect size is 0.5. It's actually, on the moderate, moderate yung effect size. Although moderate yung effect size, although hindi siya significant yung difference, but the effect size is actually moderate. That's the reason why it's nice to report also the Cohen's d, or the effect size, or the size of the effect, together with the p-value. Because if you're going to notice, the p-value is 0.69. If you use Bonferroni, but if you use Tukey, remember the Tukey, the short of Tukey HSD, muntik na maging significant to because it's 0.59. Pero pag ginamit natin yung Bonferroni, it's 0.69. Medyo malapit na din. If you use 0.10 as your alpha level, then it will be significant. Kaya okay lang din na i-report natin yung effect size. In this case, 0.5, there's a moderate. The size of the effect is moderate. Roughly, mga nasa 0.67 yung nag-overlap. Medyo malaki yung percentage na nag-overlap sa kanila. Okay, and there you go. So all you have to do is to delete this part over here and then put, yan. And this is the complete result with textual analysis.